Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the Back of the Bus session.
Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'm buzzing today. I've got my mate on, Charlie Kirby from Core Sounds or Mount Street Studio.
Which one is it?
Is it a bit of both?
It's more. It's got to be both.
Bit of everything,
both,
all encompassing.
All encompassing.
Charlie Kirby! Yeah! Dude, you've been busy.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the podcast. How many of these have you done with me?
I think this is technically the
Go
fourth.
on then, tell the story.
It's technically the fourth one.
Fuck.
But I think we've released two.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't mess up two.
Yeah, so this is the fourth
This is the
recording.
fourth. I've messed up one.
But you messed up. So we did like a 2-hour episode.
My maths was way off there. What, I've done 5 with you and I messed up 7. I'm with you.
So we did, I think, we did like a 2-hour episode.
And technically, I kind of messed up the very first because it was very quiet as well.
It was.
I needed to talk to you about that. You had some words with me, didn't you? But I can't. Can you remember what the mistake was on the one we couldn't put out?
I just think you forgot to press record.
I think it was
something
mate,
as simple
oh,
as
no,
that.
That's hilarious. No, it was so funny because I had pressed record.
That was it.
Then we had a long chat for about 20
yeah.
minutes, so I got all that in.
Yeah.
Then I was like, shall we actually do the podcast? And then pressed stop and thought it did it all.
Yeah.
Then at the very end, pressed record again because I thought that had stopped it.
Yeah.
And then we had another long 20-minute chat, so I only got
So we
the
got
first...
like ad-lib stuff.
Yeah. I got 20 minutes at the start of nothingness and 20 minutes at the end. And can you remember I tried to send you a little stick man doing this and being like, maybe I could put this out.
Using like 2 minutes of me and then try and rhyme
Just looping it. Oh, dude.
Oh
so,
my God.
Yeah, and that was probably a couple of years ago.
That must have been before COVID. So a long time ago. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't been here in a long time.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you, Aaron. Looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Looks
man.
amazing.
I'm proud of it. Do you know when I walk up and I see it all in its glory now? I do feel this sense of we did it.
You should, mate.
It come to life.
100%.
And I think it's important in business to have them moments, isn't it, as well? Do you find time for those moments?
Never.
No.
That's one of my biggest flaws that I always... I'm very public and open about, but I can never look back or celebrate achievements or anything like that. Like, we've worked on big things, and to me, it's just like, oh, that's a job that's come in. And then it's like, well, where can we then grow the business next, or what's the next thing? So,
what do you attest that to? Is that been ingrained in you somehow? Or do you feel if you look too much at your accomplishments, you end up stopping or falling over your feet?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been... I never think that I am where I should be in life. So whether that be, just what I'm working on or things like that, I always feel like I'm too many steps behind where I should be.
Yeah.
So then having a very supportive wife always helps, because she's like, well, just stop for a second and look at what you've done. Then it always like, I try and like take it in and like, look back and think, yeah, we've done some amazing stuff, but I don't think I'll ever be able to celebrate fully, if that makes sense. And it's just a flaw of mine that I just can't get out.
Is it a flaw, or does it keep pushing you forward?
Maybe it's that.
Bit of both.
Maybe it's that. I can't sit still, so I'm always looking to the next thing.
You kind of want a bit of contentment in where you're at, though, don't you?
Yeah.
So, is there something you're working on, feeling that sense of contentment or relief? Or...
I think it's just working. I find passion and excitement in working towards the next thing, but I don't always know what that next thing is, if that makes sense.
What is the moment you felt most lost in that? Have you had a time of recent?
COVID.
Yeah, of course,
It's got to
man.
be COVID. Going through COVID, and we actually did really well during COVID. We sort of adapted the business, and fortunately enough, there were laws in place where people could come and use us still.
That few years ago when we were meeting, what primarily was Mount Street Studio? Recording and music?
All music. Yeah, so, Mount Street was set up with the purpose of, I'm a creative person, I love music, and the scene around the Midlands is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
so wanted to do music, and then over time, sort of, you know, especially like when you have responsibilities, you get married and have a kid,
And we've
and
definitely
buy a
got to
house.
talk about those.
That's it,
Yeah.
mate. You start just prioritizing stuff and realizing the sort of the doors that we've got our foot through. Can we really sort of capitalize on those? And we still do music, and we still offer it, and we still work with some incredible musicians. And we've got 3 other engineers who predominantly all work on music. I think just for me, I've had like my time and passion with music, and now the music that I do work on is a real passion projects, and I focus more of my time now on the corporate.
How often are you getting to do those passion project stuff?
Um,
As kids.
yeah, I
and
know.
everything
Tell
else
me
that
about
you've
it.
got going.
Maybe once a month,
That's cool though.
which is still like a
That's-
nice.
yeah.
I always see it as like a release, because when I was doing music like every single day, you just found that, or I just found that even stuff like looking at the clock, which I never used to do, ever. And the music was amazing that we were making, and the artist's music was incredible. But just for me, I think like listening to music every day, and also, as you know, like just the it's not just as simple as like everyone knows what they want, record, done.
Yeah.
There's loads of different opinions and different ideas, which is really important for the process.
Oh
but
yeah, but that subjectivity can get a bit frictiony as well.
not even that. I just think that if like anything, if you're doing that every single day,
Yeah,
your head can just start to get a little bit tired.
I get that completely.
So yeah, when these sort of opportunities started opening up to work on the post world, I sort of took that and ran and diversified the business to work on that stuff.
What would happen when you'd had a full day of that and then you get in your car and the radio comes on?
Honestly,
did
when Spotify connected, I just lose it.
yeah,
Just
I
be
can
like,
honestly,
turn it off. Or
did
like
you gravitate to audiobooks or podcasts or anything?
podcasts, definitely.
Right, okay.
Because it just wasn't music. And I think like last time we spoke as well, like I got into the headspace of I couldn't enjoy music because when I listened to it, I was always analysing it.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point after that where it's just like, I'm just not enjoying it at all. And it's really good that we can still do music and the other engineers aren't in that headspace because they love music and they're really good at what they do, and are working with some great people. It's just for me at my stage and where I am in my career and life,
Yeah.
it just got to a point where the music that I'm working on now is just really enjoyable and it's not the day-to-day like grind, if that makes sense.
So taking that leap then away from music,
Yeah.
how did you make that plunge? And was it scary? Did you feel you're falling off a cliff? You're like, I know I've put all my time, all energy into this.
Yeah.
I've made my identity out of it in a way.
Yeah.
And now I'm turning my back to it.
I think sometimes opportunity, it sounds mental, but they just pop out the blue kind of thing. And that started with the first ever voiceover work that we got, and it just came out of nowhere.
Do you remember what it was?
It was a Channel 4 series called Screw.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was ADR. I'd never even heard of ADR.
Yeah, you're
So
gonna...
this is how like new I was to the post world kind
I mean,
of thing.
I know what it is,
Yeah,
but
of course you
educate
do.
the audience. Like,
But yeah, they were trying to like book in ADR and everything, and I was like, what the hell is even ADR? So from what equipment do you need to what do you charge to everything
Mate.
was just completely new. So started off basically just winging it and learning on the job, being completely honest.
did you tell them that?
No,
No.
of course you don't.
And did you say, yeah, we're good at this?
Well, no, I said that we've had experience in it, but to be fair, you always do, or usually you do like line checks. So you do it before the actor or that comes in.
Yeah.
You basically check with the other end that everything sounds good and clean and we're ready to go. And I can't thank that. There's different roles, but transfer engineers is what his role was. Can't thank him enough. He had the patience of a saint. He had been like an ADR recordist for the last 40 years, had worked on some huge things, and was just guiding me on how to do it.
Okay.
The studio that they used to use in Notts was fully booked or something. So like we will help you do whatever because we need to get this recorded. And it was like 3 lines or something. Wow. But I don't think there's many. I don't think I've had that many people in my life to go, we know you're not, this isn't something that is a day-to-day thing for you, but let's do a 3-hour line check and talk you through everything. Line checks take 2 minutes, and we'd spent 3 hours. So he was telling me all the terminology, how to route things, how to patch things, what to expect terminology-wise, everything.
Wow.
And come the day of the session, I was still absolutely bricking it, but
Mate.
I'd spent that whole night researching and practicing and everything. So we did that session and it went really well. And then after that, everything snowballed.
How long were you in that session for?
That was a hour session.
Okay.
So you do like minimum an hour kind of thing.
And flawless.
It went really well.
Really?
Really
Okay.
well. So the line check and this guy who helped was amazing. Really, really patient. And
To a literal dummy,
yeah.
what does it look like? What is that whole session?
So ADR
entail?
effectively is like dumbing it down is
Yeah.
like dubbing.
Yeah.
So there's like very sort of core processes of filmmaking or TV making or whatever you want to call it. ADR effectively is when, let's say you've said a line,
Yeah.
and the shot is like perfect, but the director wants to change the script, or someone's coughed in the background and the mics are picked because they're all boom mics pretty much on set. You get your lavs as well, but you use the booms, or there's rustling.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
all of that they can't use, so they'll try and treat it, but then when it goes to the dialogue editor, they'll flag it for ADR.
Wow.
So then they come into a studio which is completely professionally treated out.
But surely you can't dub a new script.
Sometimes sometimes half the line you might be on shot, and then at the end of the line you might have like, so if like we're having a conversation, like you flip the cameras.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah,
then
of course.
you've only seen the back of your head, so you
Yeah.
can make you say whatever. Does that make
Mate,
sense?
Yeah, that's really
So
interesting.
it's like, easiest way is like auto-tune for music, but for film. In terms of like you can make them say whatever you want kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Like some actors find it really, really hard. 'Cause like a lot of the scenes we've had to work on where they're like sobbing because a family member's
my
died
God,
in
of
the
course,
thing.
yeah.
So you obviously get in that mindset and mood when you're on set, and then you just expected it to come into a studio and be that same tone of voice, everything. Wow. So it's really like,
Yeah,
the
that's a
actors who do
really
it-
interesting part of
amazing.
the psychology behind it.
Exactly.
Do you have to just give them space and let them go?
Just give them what they want.
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes they'll need a couple of minutes and just try and think of something that upsets them maybe or whatever, and just try and get in that mindset.
Have you found that sort of part of your job in a role then?
No.
No,
And
not helping them because they're the actor, they're the paid
That's
to do that.
they are the creative
Cool.
in this scenario, which I think that's what I've been sort of missing in music, is that I was constantly having to be creative.
Yeah.
And in my role, where we're working solely on dialogue and making everything sound correct, and from shooting on set to then you watching it on TV,
You're more systematic now. Yeah.
clarity, that's my job kind of thing. And over the years, and as I've spent more time working in this industry, that's definitely what I enjoy more. And that's why I say music's now as a release, because I can have fun with it.
And I suppose podcasts as well, because we're working with some awesome people.
Yeah.
And like the educating idiot, hey, lads. But helping them sort of progress their business and the way they do it.
100%.
We've had some really good conversations there, haven't we?
Definitely.
So that felt nice to me.
It's always good to help people when they're starting out, and it's just interesting just to see people how they develop.
And in the creative world, often when trying to sell your product, your music or whatever you're doing, it's got to be a creative solution to it as well. There isn't a one size fits all for it. It is very subjective.
That's it. Whereas in the post world, more often or not, unless you're working in Foley or sound design, which is a lot of the stuff that we do, it's very much like, this is the line, get it clean, make sure the tone's right, make sure sync is number one. It's structured and clean, and I like that now. Whereas before I was happy to sort of like be all over the place and be experimental and
So you dived into the deep.
Yeah, very deep.
You had a really flawless day of it.
Yeah.
And it was going well. Anything that hasn't gone to plan, like my podcast with you.
I think it's I'm the kind of person where after that session, I spent 3 days in the studio just looking at Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Just going, how does this work? Is it not Pro Tools, just that type of setup and session? understanding routing like the back of my hand. It's a bit like when you're recording music, like if something goes wrong, you know where to check if something's, there's a buzz or whatever. It's exactly the same thing with ADR and voice work.
Yeah.
So it was like I was in the basement for a long time.
I get you.
Just making sure that I fully understood it, and then as soon as we were on people's radar that's what we offered. Nottingham and the Midlands just seems full of actors that are really busy at the moment, which is amazing after all the strikes and everything. And we're obviously doing what people want from a quality perspective and a professional perspective, and that's how we're able to work on some of these big stuff, because it's purely done now on word of mouth.
And it's been Netflix. What else? Well,
Netflix, Warner Brothers, Universal,
Disney. Did I see as well?
Yeah, we did something for Disney, so Apple TV. So, but like to me and you, it's the consumer, it's like, wow, these huge companies.
Yeah.
To me, it's just another job now, kind of thing.
You were still that way with music, though, weren't you? You've been with some huge names in music, but the thing they really enjoyed about you was you just treated it as another job.
You got to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of like when we worked with Van, for example, it was like you can't fangirl or whatever you want to do. It's just like they've booked in time, they've booked in a job. If he leaves happy, then you've done your job,
mate.
And that's it.
Well, Van. Oh, mate, that's Van Morrison, by the way, team.
It was an amazing session, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Is it? I've been listening to loads of Van Morrison.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Oh, he's
unbelievable.
Up there. He's just got a new album out as well. Recent.
When I worked with him back in just before COVID, he'd released something. So I think he's just released another thing now.
I think Spotify alerted me to it the other day. But
when I was speaking to his producer in the session, he was saying
he
he's a really hard-working artist. Yeah, he's fair play to him.
But that Days Like This song, that is my anthem.
It's incredible.
As soon as
everything's
that comes
perfect in it.
Yeah, I mean we've had good times here at the minute.
Yeah.
But also tricky business times as well.
Yeah.
And I know I'm in a headspace, so I'm like, I'm going to walk the dog.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, right, where's that song? Where's that? Put it on. And on it, I'm not being weird, but the answer comes to me within that song. It's just a different frequency.
It's the trumpet as soon as they come in.
I think it's I know what to do.
That's it.
Thanks, man.
It's the light bulb.
If you ever see him again, just say cheers from Mikey.
I will do, mate. I will do.
So you're having great sessions.
Yeah.
You've started a new business.
Yeah.
You have a kid.
Yeah. Moved
house. Everything's going off.
Yeah.
Like, do you take a bit of time off for this?
No. Well, how long have we been trying to organise this?
Yeah, it's true.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's not, you're not a million miles away, and it's still schedules and everything is just insane.
Did you put a lot of sort of things in place, procedures in place at work before Rudy came to the planet Earth?
Yeah.
Or
So as soon as we knew that Alyssa was pregnant, that was like, okay, well, these sort of doors are opening up in post in the advertising world. I want to be capitalising on this massively. So the whole pregnancy, I was working incredibly hard to try and obviously build the business, but also to train up new people as well. So Matt, who you've obviously worked on Educating Idiots with.
Great guy.
Amazing
that
guy.
Man.
And he...
I'm running hot dog.
running hot dogs. You've revealed the identity now.
Oh, no.
But he has basically been shadowing me on all the post work that I do. So next year, when new things hopefully kick off, then he'll be sort of taking those responsibilities on, and we're looking to get another engineer on board to help with some of the music sessions. There's a lady that's sort of shadowing us at the moment she's brilliant, and Matt's sort of been showing her the role. So sort of, it's not like me stepping down from Mount Street at all. It's just continuing to grow it. And that's it. You can never feel like you're just like, everything's going great, so let's just stay as is.
How hard was it for you, and we're finding this a struggle at the minute, realising it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, having to delegate jobs out and let go of what you had held precious?
I think it's really hard to do when, unfortunately, when you run your own business, no one is better than you on a technical level, because you know that whole space inside and out. Not saying that's true, but just you might see yourself as like, I don't need to teach that, or I don't need to teach that. It's all second nature to me, everything. So when, you know, training Matt up and training up different people, it can be challenging, because you're like, well, one day I'm going to have to start delegating different things to him and to other people. But that's just part of the training process and part of the, you know, bringing new people in, and it's paid off, because, you know, in the new year he'll be taking on that work. So,
and he's smashing it, right?
Doing really well. Really well.
How did you find the right person to take on that role? Because you've worked with so many different producers and people that would have loved that position. How?
I think, well, Matt, using Matt as an example, he came from a music background, like all of us. And when he saw me, when he was shadowing me on some of the post work that I was doing, he was like, that's really interesting. It's just really cool. Really enjoyed it. How, you know, as we were speaking earlier, the mindset of post sessions compared to music sessions is completely different. And he wanted to learn everything.
He does seem like he's got a real keen eye and curiosity about him.
He has, and he's a very driven guy. So, you know, when we've been training him up on the post work, we'll still need a few months next year, but he's, you know, it's a worthy person to hand work over to. Yeah. So I'm not having to think like, how's that session going to go or anything like that. I just like the music work that we give him now. It's just like, there's your booking, done. Whereas before it would be like, this is this client, this is who you need to speak to. There's 5 different people. You've got to learn a billion new things in this language of terminology, and then you've got to learn. It's a whole new job, effectively, kind of thing.
Would you say this is like a really important lesson that you've learned in business? Because you've been in business for how long now?
It would be in May, 6 years. Mount Street would be open.
Wow, 6 years.
It's a long time.
Maybe giving advice to somebody at the start of business, I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
But then down the line in business is some lessons that you've learned as well.
Yeah, I think you've, unless you've got like an insane technology app that just flies off, you know, then every business is going to be a lot of graft at the beginning, kind of thing. So I put in loads and loads of hours, and, you know, some stuff worked, some stuff didn't. Built some amazing relationships with people. Found Tom, who's my studio manager, after a year.
I've not met Tom, have I, right?
Tom works at Confetti. I think you might have met
I
a few
met
times.
Him. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he's a studio manager, so, you know, does all of the invoices and bookings and emails, and is, you know, spot on, really, really good. And so as soon as Tom got on board, then it was like, okay, well, then I can at least relax a little bit on the admin front, and then start focusing on what new stuff we could do. So I always see it growing through. What I've done is that I've sort of maxed myself out, kind of thing. And then if someone is there at the right time who can take on responsibilities, then I will offload if I feel confident in them, and then look towards the next thing that I can max myself out on. So I think it's, if you get to a place where you are like slogging away, but then you've got someone there who, you know, you can give work over to, then you need to learn to delegate.
What was the most burnt out you've ever felt in the process of that 6 years?
I think it was, we were going through COVID, and although we had a good COVID, I think it was, we had COVID, and then the year after that, Alicia found out she was pregnant. Yeah. So then you obviously have a responsibility there. And we were trying to sort, our house took about a year to complete, to go through. So that took ages. So I think it was then like, you know, responsibilities had come in different formats and things. And I can't do everything myself. You just can't. And even like, you know, we're a tiny, small business, but you still can't do everything yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to completely burn yourself out. So I think, during COVID, trying to adapt the business and sort of follow different leads it was really exciting, but it was also like responsibilities are here now, and it's quite sketchy times.
Do you have like lots of goals? Because with business, do you constantly have a bit of a roadmap of where you're going?
Never.
With family, do you have the roadmap? Do you have things carved out in all different aspects of your life?
I do with family. Family is, I know exactly what I want and what I'm going to get, which is what I've always sort of carved out since I was a kid. And with business, it's sort of following the ideology that I was speaking about before, is, you know, get really good at something, max yourself out, bring someone along, make sure that you're comfortable giving them work, and then find the next thing. what that next thing is, I might not know, but it's still like the fun of it kind of thing. So again, sometimes it's potluck. Like when this ADR book came out the blue, what's ADR? Never even heard of it, kind of thing.
But you've got the mentality of somebody that will find out. They've got
Yeah.
the mentality,
Yeah.
so that's the important thing.
It's always
You've got a baseline level of, I will find a way of doing this.
It's obsessive.
Yeah,
Definitely obsessive.
And there's still got to be some form of fascination in it. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
if
absolutely.
Somebody come forward with something absolutely tragic, you'd be like, I don't have the capacity for that.
100%. You know, basic stuff like when you're training people up or anything, and sometimes you just actually need to say, I just need a step back for a bit, or let's just hang fire for a bit, and then we'll come back to this and things like that. Because, you know, when you've got a brand new baby and you're changing the business and things are always changing, it can be taxing massively on yourself. Which I always push it to the limit. I'm one of those people, they're like, I know that I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But I will always take myself to the limit before I'm like, okay, I need to take myself away from one or two different things.
And talking of jumping into unknown waters, dad life,
loving it.
Yo,
absolutely loving it. It's
how
amazing.
nervous were you? I remember having some chats beforehand when I was in Mount Street. And I think you were sort of putting on a brave face, so to speak. You were saying, you were being honest. You were like, I am a bit nervous.
Yeah.
But also, I was getting a tone of, I'm pretty fucking nervous, maybe.
If I'm completely honest, I wasn't.
Were you not?
Because I've always wanted this.
Oh, wow,
so I've
okay.
always mentally prepared that it's going to be a change of, you know, focus on the baby and things like that. Like this.
Wow.
So.
And you were in a time of readiness then?
Yeah, definitely. It took me a while, but I've always wanted kids, and I feel like if you want kids, then you should be mentally preparing for what life is like with a
just
kid.
Talking to somebody that's so driven and knows where they're going in, not always to the work you're doing, but like you're so passionate, and knowing how little time you had to then know this huge responsibility is coming. I'm interested to hear.
That's sort of what I did this year effectively, and last year when we found out she was pregnant. That okay, well, what sort of business are we working on now? Who are the kind of people we're working with? And I've adapted the business, or one arm of the business, so that I can do a lot from home.
Awesome.
So
that's cool.
That was like one of my biggest things, was that if I can carve out business that I'm able to, you know, remote in from home and design from home and mix from home from a corporate perspective, then it means that yes, I'm still working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, but my little one's just in the next room. So I'm still having, you know, lunch breaks with my family and things like that. Whereas that's something I was, you know, if I was still going the way that I was going the early years in Mount Street, that would have never have happened.
I bet your office room's really nice, isn't it?
No, but I've been kicked out of Rudy's nursery. We're moving upstairs, so I'm downsizing.
Oh, bless you. I bet it's got a nice little plant in there, though, right?
Wooden desk, and we'll get a plant in there.
I think so, yeah. I can imagine it already. Okay, so then Rudy's born.
Yeah.
And you're getting into dad life.
Yeah.
Does it slip into place very quickly? How weird is it? Mate, I've been there. That room, that walk home.
Well, it was. We had a home birth.
Right. Yeah. So tell me about that.
I couldn't recommend it enough. Absolutely amazing.
Really
incredible. The care we had was phenomenal.
Did you have like a big bath?
We had a pool in the living room.
Wow.
So he was born in the living room. Labour was like 6-7 hours. It's stupid shit. Like you've got your own toilet or your own kitchen, and you're not surrounded by people you don't know, and you're not having to wait two days to 2 weeks to be checked out and go home. And you know, she gave birth at 3:00 and the family were around at 5.
Wow.
So it was very.
Anybody choose to do that then?
Anyone can choose to do it. It's they've cut back a lot on the service, on the home visit. Well, I forget what it's called. But if you have like an evening labour, at the moment I don't think there's any chance of anyone coming out. So you've got to go to a hospital.
Mate, so did you have a bath? Not a bath, but like a big tub in your living room?
Yeah, so it's just an inflatable pool. Yeah. So as soon as
how long?
So she woke up at 6:00, and she woke me up saying, "I think I'm in labour."
Yeah.
And I just went back to sleep. And I said, just play Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles and I'm sure it'll be fine. It gets worse. Woke up an hour later and she was like, no, I'm in labour. So I went downstairs and we'd, got the pool and everything like that and blew up the pool with the pump and water into the tap and everything got ready. And so she came downstairs, obviously in labour, about 2 hours in. And I was like, I'm just going to have a really quick shower because obviously it's going to be quite a long day. I don't know where my mind went, but I just decided to have a 90-minute bubble bath.
Wow.
Upstairs.
Yeah.
Which was definitely the wrong choice to do when your wife's downstairs in labour.
I'm glad you know this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know
You
where my mind
reflected on
was. But I came down. She's like, I'm in labour. And you just had a 90-minute bubble bath. And I was like, yeah, that definitely wasn't the right thing to do. So that started the day off well. But yeah, after that, you have to, you ring the midwives and she has to have contractions between 10 minutes, a certain amount between them. So it got to the point where she met that criteria or that number, and then they came out, and then she was allowed to go in the pool at 11 or maybe 12, and baby was here at 3. So you're
smooth.
So she sat in the pool. She's watching The Hills on TV. You've got a midwife there you have like birthing plans as you know and stuff like that. And she was brilliant. We said like no chit chat, nothing. She didn't say a word all like labour when she came. And I was like, it's maybe a little bit awkward because she's really quiet. Baby came out. She was the most loving, loud, friendly person ever. And she was like, well, I just read your notes. You just didn't want any of that until we knew everything was okay.
Wow.
So again, like the care was phenomenal, unbelievable.
How much did you put into the plan? Did you have many requests and requirements?
No requirements. Just as like we took antenatal classes before the birth, and just from a preparation perspective, just learning about terminology and different things that can happen during birth and things like that. So I felt prepared. Whereas before, if I didn't take those classes, it'd be like, do you know what I mean? What do I do, kind of thing. So. And
what's your parenting style technique?
We're very chill.
Yeah.
Very, very chill.
Comes across.
I think that's the best. If you're gonna be in sort of like a high like volume or stress household, then I don't think that's gonna. I think that will come across to your child, kind of thing. So
what happens when disciplines approach though?
Well, he's 9 months, so
okay.
We're getting to the stage where he's just there's none of that because he's just having a great time and we're very lucky. He's a very happy baby.
Have you had conversations together about that though, and how you're going to approach it?
Yeah, very very relaxed.
Okay, very relaxed. Cool.
And then I think people have different parenting styles, obviously, but I think if you rather than just going full in on them, if something's happened, let's just have a conversation. A lot of the times things can be learnt quicker just by having a conversation with someone rather than just bollocking them.
You just wait until all your walls
I'm sure,
are like
mate.
cave paintings.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be, yeah.
Bloody hard. No,
you got 2.
I know, and they set each other off as well, completely. But again, duties and responsibilities, are they fairly shared, or are you?
I think with me working and Lissy does work as well, I think naturally the mum's always doing more than the man. I think you can't get away from that, but things that I can do, like feed and dress and change nappies and put them to bed and everything, I will do.
Did you have young babies in your life? Have you had? Because I just found it so alien. Like, I did fall into it quite quickly. Yeah. It's like, I just adapt. We do adapt. But I remember the first time of everything, and I'm like, this is odd.
The first baby I can remember holding was Alicia's sister's baby.
How long ago before Rudy was that?
So she's just turned 2 in April, so 2.5 years old. And I remember holding it going like, what is this? But I also knew that this is everything that I wanted as well. So it's not too foreign when your own baby comes, kind of thing.
You kind of envisioned and visualised it.
Yeah, exactly. You? And she had a home birth as well, to be fair. So I think that sort of inspired us a bit to, just everything was very calm and relaxing, which was amazing.
And we're living in pretty strange times, right?
Yeah.
The world's an odd place.
It is.
Just, what sort of skills, I suppose,
Yeah.
do you want to quit Rudy with and go into this wild, weird world?
Be able to try everything.
Yeah.
I think that's the main one.
Is that something that was sort of given to you?
Yeah, I had opportunities at school and everything growing up, and had supportive parents that would take me to football or hockey or whatever at the weekends. So if he wants to try something, let him try it.
But to full circle in a way, because they put so many opportunities in front of you, that's like that ADR session. You sort of that confidence and that growing.
True. Yeah.
You are willing to jump in, and
I think you've got to, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think I've grown up with family members around me who are just terrified of the world.
Yeah.
And
a lot of young people that I speak to, they don't want to get things wrong, or that's a big part of their life.
And that's such an important part of your life, though, at the same time. Like, you can't be good at everything. Like, I'm crap at a lot of sports, but there's some sports that I'm really good at. It's the same thing with academia or with music and whatever. So you can't be amazing at everything. And
I
you
love
just
what you
find
said
your own ways.
there about the fact of trying out different things.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't the best at football. I think I was always following my dad's footsteps because he was quite high.
Yeah.
And I think, they wanted me to go down that
route.
But again, trying it out and realising it wasn't necessarily... I enjoyed it.
That's it.
But it wasn't going to be my path.
100%.
That was good, because even losing games and stuff, you learn how to take that. Oh, we didn't die. That's amazing. And just constantly dotting about, don't you?
But even if he's, not top level at something, but enjoys it, I'll push him to the end until he
follow the feeling.
Yeah, follow the feeling. Or if he does something and says, I'm not feeling this, I don't like it, then don't force them to take them back the next week.
Did you ever have that imposed on you?
No.
Did you not? Or
No. I think just I said, like, everyone's parenting styles are different.
I've met some messed up kids because of that.
Yeah, I know a few who got to very high level of football, and now don't want anything to do with football because of it, kind of thing. So I think it can be quite a messy, dangerous path if you are so fixated on something. It's almost like, because I wasn't at that level, I'm going to make you be at that level.
And I think my style is very much as a bit nuanced towards it, because I do feel I could have been pushed a little bit more.
Yeah.
If I was to say no to something, it's like, all right, then don't.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I was looking for a bit of attention of, come on, do it, give it a go. That conversation. But being maybe as a parent inquisitive and have conversations, I didn't really have good conversations with my family before. It was either go and do that, or just don't, be on your own choice.
100%.
But if I could sort of be more introspective and go inside my mind, why don't I want to do this? What aren't I enjoying?
Yeah.
You can find out a bit more.
But do you think
about
that's more of a maturity thing, though?
Yeah.
From an age perspective, are you mature enough as a person at the age of 12, 13 to have those conversations with yourself?
Maybe good to investigate.
Do you know what I mean?
Try.
It could be interesting.
Yeah, I think that
because how many kids are feeling pressured to do something just because their best mates are decent at it and doing it? Well, actually, if you start, I try and live life quite selfishly, but look out for my circle. But you can't help everyone, and you can't be have the same interests as everyone and stuff like that. So, if your best mates are really, really good at rugby, but you're not, still, like, go and support them and have fun. But if you know that you don't enjoy it, or you're not, don't think you're going to be at that level, then find another path that makes you content.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Because I think a lot of people, that I guess maybe it's peer pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think there's too many people that do stuff because of other people.
That seems like a big part of the world we're living in.
That's it. From anything, from careers and...
Comparison's the thief of joy.
That's it.
Yeah, you're not really following your path, are you?
Exactly. Which is why I think we spoke about this on the last episode, like, spent years trying to please different people and be friends with loads and loads of people. And actually, like, my circle is so small now.
Yeah.
And I've never felt happier.
Really?
Yeah.
In that transitioning period, though, so where you've had a big circle and you're sort of pleasing the masses, to go in there. Did you not have fear of missing out and going through that sort of
I did a little bit.
feeling?
I did a little bit, and then
How'd you get through that? Tell me.
I went to uni.
Yeah, okay.
Simple as that. I went to uni, and when you go to uni, you meet loads and loads of different walks of life and everything. And got to the end of uni and found that 10, 15, 20 people were still there that I spoke to a lot, including my now wife. And we've just stayed connected ever since, kind of thing. Got a really nice core circle of people in Notts, core people from uni. And it doesn't feel overwhelming. It just feels like natural. It's just nice that you can just reach out to people. They'll be there for a chat, but you're not just having a conversation for the sake of it.
Are you after thrills and spills though? Do you enjoy going out and having a good old time?
Yeah, I think, and especially as a dad now, you obviously don't get the
exactly. That's what
time.
I'm interested in. Is that do you get FOMs there because you don't get them opportunities as much, or do you still make sure you structure that in some way or another?
I still go out for a few drinks at the pub now and then.
Yeah,
but everyone that is in my circle is sort of my age group, and we're all sort of on the same paths of trying to buy a house or trying to settle down and things like that. So there's a few of our friends that love a big sesh.
I get
but I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like we'll go to the pub and we'll have a few drinks, but I don't feel that just because I'm not in a bar with them in town at 3 a.m. that I've missed out. No.
That's a beautiful way to get to, though, isn't it?
I feel very content. Very, my head's a lot less clouded now.
And is that why you can have a job that's constantly sort of amalgamating itself and building? Because in all other aspects of your life, you've got that settlement, you've got that contentment.
It could well be, yeah. And I think maybe that was part of the high stress in the early days of Mount Street and setting up a business is, you know that you're putting all your hours into your business. Are you putting your hours into your relationship? Are you putting your hours into your friendships and everything like that? And that was probably maybe a stress of trying to make sure that I was still being connected with people kind of thing. So then it got to the point where COVID was amazing.
Yeah.
Because it was like everyone was having this break, whether they liked it or not. And just gave me time to reflect a little bit and be like, well, this is where I'm at with business. This is where I'm at with my personal life. This is where I'm at with my friendships. I like it. And so I tried to keep that sort of structure in place.
Do you love the chase with business? Say if somebody tomorrow called and said, I want to buy it from £1 million or so on. Is your why more, is it family? And that's what you're trying to build towards, have this esoteric beautiful life with them, or do you feel you're always going to need some form of challenge and some form of business in your life?
Everything's family.
Okay, wicked.
Absolutely everything.
So would you take that call and be like, all right then?
I'd still say no,
right.
because I feel that at the moment I'm balancing everything really well.
Yeah, I get you.
If circumstances were different and I didn't have a house or things like that, then you'd maybe consider it, but at the same time it's something that I've built, something that I've managed to now balance with my personal life as well. So no, I'm happy.
I love that everything's family.
Everything's family.
Is that same for Alicia?
And that I definitely have got that from her side.
Was it not quite that before?
No, I think I come from a little bit of a broken home, but I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that. Everyone just has different stories. And yeah, when I met Alicia and I came up to Notts because I'm from London, it was just everything that I had wanted from like a family dynamic kind of thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
So then when I had the opportunity to...
Did you feel accepted straight away as
well?
Yeah,
mate, like that, there was never any issues with that. They're incredible people. But that was just like, for me, another drive in my head that's how I want my family to be when we make our own. And that's what we're trying to do at the moment.
And do you know how you sort of said that you always planned to be a dad? That was the path you wanted.
Yeah.
So to a degree, there's some expectations there in a way.
Yeah.
Did you get the feeling that you thought you were going to get straight from the off, or did that gradual build?
There was never any pressure, because Alicia probably wanted kids straight after uni, and I obviously was building a business and we wanted to get on the ladder and things like that. And when we found out, it was just, we're at a good space in our life where we've sort of been mentally preparing for it over the last 5 years. And now it's happened. It's like, you always get a shit moment.
Yeah.
Like shit. But at the same time, it's like, well, we've been working towards this and this is what we wanted. And we were fortunate enough to have a little boy.
Oh, man. And is he going to be a Chelsea fan?
I don't think he is, you know. I don't think
Why?
I
What?
don't think it's fair the amount of grief I get up here being born and bred Chelsea. It'll probably be a Forest fan because think about it. You're growing up. Let's say he does like football. All of his mates are going to be Forest fans, aren't they?
Oh yeah, of course.
All of them.
Is the plan sticking around in Nottingham? Is that your?
Yeah, this is
stomping
unless
ground
the ways of the country go very south.
I'm with you.
And then I'll be booking a plane ticket somewhere.
Sound like a pun in that. Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Would you?
I don't. Yeah, Nottingham. We love it here.
Wicked.
Yeah. Still like to go down to London for a weekend, but I'd never move back ever.
Do you ever get to go and watch Chelsea play?
No.
Never.
No.
Do you,
I like to.
And the Forest your second team then?
I follow Forest properly, and
Really?
I do that because one of my engineers, he follows Forest, but so many of my clients and friends follow Forest as well. And actually, it might be different from you guys and other people because they're from here. But I noticed that when Forest are doing well, the whole city feels happier. It just does.
Yeah.
Whereas like you don't get that in London because you've got 4, 5, 6 teams, maybe Charlton, anyone level wise. Whereas here it's like you've got County or Forest.
What were the celebrations like? Did you go to Notts when they went into the Premier League? And
no, so I've only, again, this is like sort of how I love football. I watch it every single weekend. I love it. And I've been to 2 matches since I moved here. 2.
Fair.
One was a county match.
Nice.
With one of the engineers that helped set the studio with me. And another was, I think it must have been in 2017, opening game of the season, Forest versus Millwall. So
nice.
that long ago.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I absolutely loved it.
I bet that was a big atmosphere.
Incredible.
Right? Yeah,
Incredible.
Of course.
And just loved it. But again, it's time. It's so hard when you're trying to juggle so many things, and even when you're at a stage in your life where you think actually you've got a hand on stuff,
yeah,
it still takes us 4 months to organise this podcast. Do you know what I mean?
How are Chelsea doing at the minute? Because I've not been following it as much. What's going on?
We've learnt what the goal is now.
Okay,
finally.
Is that because of the Tottenham game?
Tottenham
Did
game
you
and the
watch
City
that?
game.
That was
the
weird.
City game was
Oh god, yeah. Was it 4-4?
4-4, and we looked like a decent team,
Nice.
considering what we've had for the last however much. And there's always going to be that aspect of, well, we spent £1 billion on players, and you should be, top the table immediately. But it was quite refreshing just to actually see a bit of good football against City, the best team in the world, who won the Champions League last year.
Yeah, man.
So I'll always support Chelsea, but I do follow Forest, and I think Rudy will definitely be a Forest fan. Probably.
And because your time is very like family or business.
Yeah.
If you were to have a you day,
Yeah.
would it be to go and watch Chelsea play, or would it be? Do you have other things in your life?
Do you know what? If I had a me day,
Yeah.
it would just be on the golf course.
Golf course.
Yeah, I love golf. I absolutely
Where
love
did this
golf.
passion come from?
My granddad used to play. He used to be a president of a golf club down in Hertfordshire. And I never took it up because of that. And he took me to the driving range when I was like 9, 10.
Oh,
and then
mate, cool.
never played golf ever again. And then I moved up here, and a few of the circle that Alicia introduced me to all had their own businesses or everything, but they all played golf. And it's a bit like when, if you get into a family who they're all skiers and you've never skied, like
Cool.
that's where the FOMO comes in.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I'd like to spend a day out with you playing golf kind of thing. And just from hockey, it's a very unnatural swing, but I've got a swing. So
A
I
good
can,
swing.
a decent swing. So I can get around the course with them and compete and everything.
Do you get lessons as well? Or?
I never took lessons.
Never ever took
Yeah.
lessons.
I think it's
Just a natural ability.
well, no, I'm definitely like, I've got an awful hockey habit, but I can get the ball where I want it. So it's almost like I could probably take 2 steps back to get more out of a decent proper swing. But at the moment, I'm just sort of like, I've got my swing and the ball's landing where I want
It's
it to land. So it's
working.
working.
Yeah, what works
so
works.
why change it?
Yeah.
Don't change anything.
There
if it
is a
ain't-
metaphor in
Exactly.
that. That is a metaphor, definitely.
So I love golf, mate. I think
What's this new Netflix golf thing? Have you been? It's advertised every time I turn Netflix on.
I don't know, mate. I haven't been on Netflix.
Oh,
It's in time. I haven't been on Spotify in time. I mean, literally. So I
you're
don't
like,
know.
I'm in that industry. I just want a book or play golf.
It's a bit like what we were saying when I was, my head was a bit clouded doing music every day and then turning on Spotify in the car. Like, because I'm working on feature films and TV series every single week, then it's like, to then see Netflix or Apple TV or Disney when I come home, it's a bit like I've just been watching a show for like the last 4 hours working on it. I just
totally
don't want
get it,
any more. I think it's screen time maybe. As well as so yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit.
Well, it's kind of also when you've seen behind the screen, seen behind the what do you call it, curtains.
Yeah.
That can take away from it, can't it?
Kind of bit.
For me, anyway. I remember even in film, I can't just sit and watch a film now. I'm really
as a videographer
thought about as a videographer thought about. Well, how have they actually made that happen?
100%.
And then suddenly I realise I'm way over here. I've got no idea what's happened with the plot anymore.
Yeah, I think
Behind the veil was
behind the veil. That's it. I think since working on sort of high budget things, projects, I think going back to like finding time to celebrate things, that's really, I've started to do it now. Being able to work on these things, and as Alyssa said to me, how many when did you ever think that you could then say, well, even if you've played a small part, you worked on Barbie?
It's crazy.
Or things like that.
What did you do in Barbie?
We did some ADR work on it.
Wow. Is it mainly all, when I ask, what did you do on this, is it all ADR?
So ADR for pretty much all of the film work and TV series. We do a lot of voiceover work, so for adverts and things like that. And then we're starting to do sound design. So a production agency will come to us, go, this is our client, this is our advert. We've got this voice actor. We want you to record that voice actor, do some design over it, mix it, and get it ready for distribution. So advertising's a road that we're going down with our contacts, which is exciting. And yeah, ADR and voiceover work is more what we do day to day kind of thing.
And I know you're very professional. I've worked with you a lot, and you are just sort of pragmatic's the right word, really. You get stuff done.
Yeah.
But when you're working with actors, can some of them be temperamental? No, really.
No, I've been
because you're being professional. Do you feel that sort of?
I think so.
Energy transfers.
Yeah, but sometimes a lot of the
obviously
times
they're professional anyway, but
yeah, a lot of the times with ADR, a lot of them are big names. We have worked with some big names on ADR, which I can't say have, they don't necessarily want to be there, because in an ideal world for them, everything will go great on set, and they don't need to come back into a studio and redo lines and this. But no one's been difficult. I've had way more difficult musicians than anyone in the professional post world ever.
yeah, that makes sense.
And maybe that's another reason why I enjoy it more. I don't know. But yeah,
I suppose to some degree, again, tensions can heighten, because in ADR, I imagine
it's very high pressure.
Have they not just been given the script though, and it's more that systematic way of you've just got to read this in the right way?
Yeah.
Whereas music, again, we were talking about the subjectivity of it.
Yeah.
Is this right? Is that right? And when you start getting that cognitive dissonance and sort of aggravation behind it, that's where that can sort of heighten from.
I think so. I think from an engineer's perspective, when you're doing ADR, you just need to make sure that you're quick and you do your job well.
Sure.
That's your job.
Boom.
Done. And then you've got, like, as soon as you're in the role and things are going well, the pressure's off you a little bit. When the only times when things can become frustrated, and it's not with you as such as an engineer, it's when the actor is being, and sometimes like quite unjustified. The director wants him to do like a little flick on this little word or different deliveries, and he's like, I've done this line 40 times now.
Yeah, of course.
You're probably going to use take 2. And how much longer do I need to be here when I've come in for, let's say, 15 lines and you've spent 40 minutes on one line?
Yeah.
And there's nothing, there's no bad blood in the studio, because if you are being slow or unprofessional, you're then probably going to build some friction there. But if you're quick and you're professional, you do your job and you know what you're doing, then you're just a piece of the puzzle that's making it run as smooth as it can. That's then a creative decision.
Yeah.
So again, it comes
It's
back a bit to
interesting.
creativity again, because
Yeah.
directors are really creative people, but at the same time, they have that balance in the film world of knowing exactly what they want. But then on the flip side, the complete extreme of, can we try that? Can we try that? Can we try that? Can we try? And that's when I think actors can
makes
get a
sense.
little bit sort of frustrated.
Have you done books as well?
Yes, we do audiobooks.
Wow.
So
What
we do-
sort of books have you done?
Nothing huge at the moment, but we work with Penguin Random House quite a few times,
Yeah.
which is great. There's some awesome authors in Notts. There's a lot of, because Notts uni has got some incredible professors and things like that. A lot of them are writing books
Amazing.
and projects. So if their book does get to a level where it's getting published, more often than not, and it's the same with ADR, they'd rather stay in Notts, read for 8 days, and go back to their family than get the train down to London,
Yeah.
read for 8 hours. And
How
then come
long
back.
does a book take often? Is it?
Anything? I mean, you could do up to a week's recording.
Wow.
But if you are self-narrating it, you're probably not used to speaking that much.
Yeah.
So then you lose
Do
your voice.
people back themselves often when I've had people on the podcast world scene,
Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, we're going to do this. We've got all these ideas, and they get into 10 minutes in and they're like,
Lose their
oh,
voice.
shit, what have we done?
Yeah.
They don't think about the cameras and
That's
the
it.
content and all
That's
that.
it.
Have you had that in the
We have with
studio?
audiobooks where, because it's such a personal novel, they've felt it's only right for the author to read it, which
Yeah.
makes total
Get
sense.
that.
But then the publisher can't expect them to be flawless like a professional voice actor. So when we do stuff with Games Workshop and they come in with their professional narrators, they can book out the studio for 3-4 days at a time and they just fly through it.
Yeah.
Because they're used to speaking for long periods of time and different accents. Whereas if me and you spoke for 8 hours right now,
Oh, mate.
you'd probably lose your voice at the end of it and not want to come in for the next 3 days
Yeah,
and do the same thing.
of course,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's very much a skill being a narrator and a voice actor. Definitely.
Yeah, I went and did a job. I did a documentary. It was a really cool documentary.
Yeah.
But the person that set up this charity
Okay.
was like the friendliest, loveliest human to talk to.
Yeah.
And because it was their charity, you thought, oh, they're going to have loads to say on it. She's like, nah, no bother.
Yeah.
But as soon as I pressed play on the cameras, do you know that?
Red light fever.
And the chopping up I had to do on all the ums and stuff, and having to go back through. Can you just say this line so I can at least know I've got a line that I can take?
I think it's the same thing with when you're, when you get with musicians as well, and they're like in the booth and they're singing and things like that. So they can be like an incredible singer.
Sorry, mate.
That's all right.
Oh, cool. So, wicked. Aye, cleaners.
They can be like an amazing singer, know their song inside and out, and then when the producer goes, okay, I'm going to record now, forgotten everything or can't get it right, and so we call that red light fever.
Red light fever.
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
yeah. As soon as you see that recording light on,
Yeah, I
it's,
like
it's
it.
a bit like people on podcasts, isn't it? They think,
Yeah.
well, I know this episode inside and out. I know what we're going to talk about. I'm not actually talking much because we've got a guest, for example. And then you see their persona. As soon as you say we're rolling, bang, it can change. And it's just that pressure, I guess, of the different environment.
And when you were saying you were gravitating to podcasts,
Yeah.
what were you listening to?
Just information.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was listening out for. Was just trying to learn more about different people's like lifestyles and what they've done, kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, mainly just interviews on podcasts. Kind of
Nah,
thing. Nothing. I couldn't like pick one out of thin air.
People
for
that you
but
like, though.
People that are respected in the
Yeah.
business world.
Everyone goes to that Bartlett.
Yeah.
Was he one on the list?
I've watched a few, but
Yeah.
I think
It was more about stuff you wanted to learn about.
I think so, yeah. Whereas, so I would, if something like really interested me, I would search it up and then find that there was a podcast on that subject or something like that. So, a bit like Joe Rogan. I'm not like these kind of people who can just every time a Joe Rogan episode's out, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
But if he's got a guest on that I think is, I find of interest of what they're in their field,
Yeah.
then I'll go, right, I'll listen to that. So I'm quite selective. I don't just listen to series. One series I do listen through the whole way time is the Lab Baby one, because we obviously edit it,
Hey. Yeah.
which is wicked. Like, I absolutely love it. It's
Do you think we were talking about that on the last episode, or you can't have been with Lad Baby by then?
Last Christmas we did the vocals for their Christmas single, but then the podcast is only recent, so I don't think we would have.
Wasn't Ed Sheeran on that?
That was the one before with Elton John.
Oh, you missed
Yeah,
that one.
I missed that one.
Oh, who did you get for the other one? Was it Peter Kay?
No, they did themselves.
Did they just have the two of
themselves, I
them?
think, yeah.
Bless.
No, I think they had who was the guy? They had Martin Lewis,
Cool.
Money Supermarket.
Yeah,
expert guy.
not quite Ed Sheeran though, right?
But still amazing. Like, all for a good cause.
They're not doing
and
it
they
this
raise
year,
money.
right? They're not doing.
No, they said they weren't going to do it.
Any reason? Did you
I think they've
done it?
I think they've 5 is a lot.
Yeah.
But also I think their main goal was always to raise as much money for the Trussell Trust and to just bring limelight to the Trussell Trust. I'd never heard of the Trussell Trust until I'd worked with them, so it's done its job, I guess. Like, you've brought attention to something. People, if people keep streaming all the other previous Christmas songs, there'll still be money going towards the charity. So I think they probably just thought it was time for something new, I guess.
Could you believe it when you had Lad Baby email over and say we're going to do this podcast and work with you?
Well, the first time we worked with them was for Random House Penguin,
Okay.
and they were doing their Christmas book, and then so we did their audiobooks. We did for them, basically, and then we started sort of forming a relationship, and he said, "Oh, can we lay down some vocals on this?" And that all went really well, and we started talking more and more, and then he said that we've been wanting to do a podcast for a while. It's just finding the right team to do it and the right time to do it as well, and he was like, would you be interested in helping us and doing sort of the engineering side?
Wow.
So yeah, and it's just I see it again like music now, which I didn't see music before, is I just enjoy it. Like, they send me over an episode, and every single episode they have like 30 seconds of being like, hi Charlie, hi.
Really?
Yeah,
That's great.
just having a catch up, which is really nice. And then I edit it, and it's just it's enjoyable to listen to. So I listen to those podcasts all the way through when I'm editing them.
Of course.
But yeah, I don't really listen. I'm not like subscribed to loads of different unless it's like a Joe Rogan episode that I find of interest, kind of thing.
Yeah, so you're making them sound good. Do you have to like clip bits out as well, or are you looking?
So sometimes they like to produce it all themselves.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, they'll send me like what we record today. I'll treat it all and go through it all and edit it, and then if there's a section that they think maybe it's not relevant to what we were talking about or anything, then snip it out. But quite a straightforward process, and yeah.
Do you think podcasts are just going to get more and more and more and bigger
so.
and bigger and bigger?
I think
why?
I think people are craving information nowadays, whether it be to reality TV stars talking, they're still craving just sort of naturalness about what people are up to.
That's a cool word. Yeah.
Whereas everything that you watch on your Netflixes and stuff like that is scripted.
Yeah.
Things like that. And you're going to get some podcasts that might have themes and subjects throughout it, but it's raw.
There's still an authenticity
That's
that
it.
exudes throughout it.
That's it.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
And I think it's gonna. Yeah, and also you can tell on podcasts if something's been like meticulously
Yes.
edited, because it just doesn't flow.
I turn them off in.
Do you know what I mean?
second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rawness of it, I think people are enjoying. That we've lived in quite a fake society, or not necessarily fake, but like there's a lot of masking over certain areas of society.
Perfection.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Having
again,
to get it right.
going back to music, like everyone uses auto-tune, everyone, because all your MIDI instruments are perfectly in pitch. So if you're not perfectly in pitch, you're going to sound a little bit off. So it's getting that perfection right. Whereas actually with a podcast, if someone's talking about something that they just want to talk about, it's just raw information.
Yeah.
I think that's quite cool.
I agree with you. I think those that I was alluding to before, where people have come and then within 10 minutes didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because they've been on that structure and they've been on that script.
100%.
But the second I go, just listen, like chill, have a chat like you're gonna have some of the points in your head, but just go off the cuff. They always like a second take.
That's it. Exactly like when we worked with Dan and Robbie.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good
that's
point.
a prime
Yeah,
example
that was cool.
of
I love those guys.
you know, sort of hyping themselves up to get the best product, but
Yeah.
actually you get a lesser product by trying to make it perfect.
That's a great example.
Do you
Just
know what I
watching
mean?
two humans.
Yeah.
Like before the first 10 minutes in, I panicked.
Yeah.
I remember telling you, I was like, "Oh, I don't think we're going to be able to do this.
Yeah,
They're not going to get through that."
That's it.
But then quickly in second take, and then you saw the whole podcast just evolve itself,
That's it.
and
That's
them
it.
having banter back and
100%.
forth.
It's
Yeah.
amazing, and it's then that sort of red light fever or that first 5 minutes wasn't there anymore
No.
for all of the future episodes. So
Yeah, you start to just really enjoy it, don't you? Because there's that, you really don't know where it's going.
not at all. So I think podcast is
yeah.
a great medium and a great platform. I think people are enjoying it, and I also think that
Really important for business. Like,
It really
business
is.
don't see 'em,
Really
like,
is.
they're cluing up on it now, and
Yeah.
they're understanding the relevance in podcasts, but not enough yet. I've seen.
I think it's nowhere near as important or as drastic as, you know, you'd search up a business and if they didn't have a website they weren't
Course,
professional.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not that
course.
at all. But I think people are liking the sort of podcasts are a very good way of being honest and
Yeah.
natural. And if you've got, you know, marketing people or CEOs of companies going, this is how we started, this is what we're wanting to do, everything.
This is our ethos.
This is our ethos. That is gold dust for your consumers. Absolute gold dust. And what does everyone want nowadays? Information and content.
Yeah.
Podcast does both. So
Yeah, and networking.
and
Bringing
networking.
people in that you
That's
really
it.
find fascinating and want to
That's
talk to
it.
for a bit.
And if you're clever enough, you can monetize it
Yeah.
very, very well. I think I saw something like the top 10 Patreons, 8 of them are podcasts, making millions and millions and millions of pounds every year from Patreon subscribers, and they do a podcast.
Yeah. Listen, it's
really
it's an art
interesting.
form,
Do
isn't
you know what I
it?
mean? So, I
What
think,
are some of the innovative ways that you've seen people turn it into a business, turn it into a moneymaker? Through Patreon.
Sponsorships, brand deals, Patreon. When, you know, there's a podcast that we used to work on, and their talent agency told me that they just passed 10,000 subscribers, and these were just two not small time, but had a decent following, but just YouTubers. You know, nothing. I think they maybe did like a bit of modeling or something, but like they weren't famous.
Yeah.
And they've just passed 10,000 Patreon subscribers a month.
And then are they giving people like sort of can't access this?
Yeah, so you get like you get unreleased episodes, for example,
Cool.
or you get Q&As, live Q&As, or you get merch or things like that. But you've got 10,000 people a month paying £3.99, which is what a coffee is, expensive coffee. That's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
A month. Do the math.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people, if you're creating good content and you're creating content that people resonate with, people are going to support you for a price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah, of course.
That's how I see it. I
People
think
invest in people, don't they?
they invest in people, and I think that's why when you've got these sort of big companies that are doing really well, actually, if you just show a little bit of vulnerability and a bit of inside, you know, it's not even necessarily about the monetization of it, but you might find that your image or your sales goes through the roof because of having a podcast.
Yeah,
Do you see what I mean?
So it's all on the business, isn't it? But for us, I remember trying when I first started out business, making it look very corporate and so on.
Yeah.
And that was just in our world. But
Yeah.
I realised actually what people like in our world in business was more that personable,
That's it.
being a bit of a dick,
That's
having
it.
a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
sort of
Also, if you
thing.
think if they've come from quite a clinical corporate background,
Yeah.
then sometimes people want that, and that's fine. You give them what they want. But if you can sometimes flip it on its head and give them an alternative, they go, wow, this isn't anything that we would have usually put our name to, and this is really cool. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see it delivered that way.
So go on, and a little bit of just advice now for a young person that's listening to this is like, I really want to start business.
Yeah.
what are some of the fundamentals? What are some of the really important key factors?
You've really got to go out and work for it.
Yeah.
Like
Has it got to be in, because business is an elusive term.
It is.
Has it got to be something they're passionate about?
I think you've got to enjoy what you're doing. Whether whether it be you setting up an accountancy firm or something, you've got to know that, there might be some things that you set up and you go, this is just going to make me loads of cash.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fine, because that's how they're getting their enjoyment from it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
from that financial,
starting up something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you've got something that you are skilled in and you've got an interest in, then that already you're off to a winner, because you've got that passion that you don't necessarily mind doing 24 hours a day for 3 years. You know what I mean? So I think, you've got to stick at it. It's very, things do sort of drop out of thin air, opportunities now and then, but you can't just be sitting around waiting for them to happen. You've got to go in action and make things work.
I agree.
Networking is really important, and just making sure that when you do get the work, you do it really well.
Yeah.
And just keeping in contact
And
with
fall
people.
forward if you don't.
And fall forward if you don't. And if you do mess up, you own it.
Yeah.
Because that's a very mature characteristic of people who run business, is if you do get something wrong, or you don't press record on a podcast episode.
Yeah, I've been there.
You just you just say, this happened, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
And 99% of the times people go, it's fine, let's reorganise or whatever. So.
I was going to ask you a similar question in being a dad. And I bet the answer's fairly similar actually to what we just said. But somebody hearing this and going, oh, I'm nearly a dad soon.
I think
what do dads need to know?
I think the biggest thing for dads, from my personal perspective, is don't put too much pressure on yourself. Because I know a few people who've absolutely bricked it that they're going to be a dad, and have maintained that mentality when the baby's here, and actually you end up being a worse dad.
I'm going to do it shit. I'm going to do it shit.
Do you know what I mean? And then you end up doing it shit because you've said it to yourself so many times.
Yeah.
So actually, if you just make sure that you can do what you're able to do, that's really, really important. So you know that, for example, if you're going to be solely breastfeeding a child, you can't help with that. But then when you start moving to formula or anything bottle, you can make bottles. You can put the baby to bed. You can wake up in the middle of the night and try and rest the baby. All these kind of things that the mother's having to do anyway. But if you've got a second pair of hands, do your bit, kind of thing. So I think that's the most important thing, is don't put pressure on yourself, because otherwise you're just going to do a shit job.
Don't put pressure on yourself and do your bit.
Do your bit.
Do your
100%.
bit.
Do your bit. I think it's really important.
Dude, I really love this. Yeah, honestly. And I love that we're going to end it towards do your bit.
Do your bit.
Beautiful. Mate, if people want to work with you, or any of your engineers and that, musically, where do they find out everything?
Or Mount Street. So you go to mountstreet.co.uk, it will split, you'll get an option to go into the post world, or into the music world, and you'll see.
Bloody nice place you've got there.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that.
Really nice
really
place.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Do you still get that wow factor walking in it to yourself?
Yeah.
Do you?
I think that's a pride thing as well.
Yeah.
Thinking it still looks like a really welcoming space.
It is.
She did a good job.
It's an energy, yeah.
All credit to her. I couldn't make it look that good.
Oh, I thought you were going to take a little bit of that.
No,
fair play. Right, I'll do my bit. Guys, you've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'll leave you on this. Always do, always will. Just be nice to one another. You're a beautiful set of buggers. See you later.